everyone! So, before I begin my presentation, I would like to ask you guys, do you remember the first time you started reading? And if so, what was the first book you read? For me personally, it had a lot to do with the influence of my mom because she was the one who gave me the books that I wanted and needed to read, and it dealt with fairy tales and princesses and knight in shining armors. However, as I grew older, I wanted more characters that were, like me, a bookworm. And then that is when I discovered Matilda by Roald Dahl. So for today's presentation, I will be sharing with you guys the world of Matilda through the eyes of Roald Dahl. But first off, why Matilda? Let me give you a little bit of a backstory about me for a moment. Before the big, chunky books about Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, I've actually read the entire series, including The Cursed Child. There was the little me, the inner child me, who always wanted a character like Matilda. Matilda brought out that inner child within me, the inner bookworm who had the hunger for learning. And that is exactly what Matilda is. As I read through Matilda, Matilda is really this kind of character who has the heart and the will to actually consume knowledge. And as a little kid, I remember myself being like that. And even until now, I love learning. I believe, that we are all students of life and that every day we get to learn something new. From then on, Matilda would visit the library only once a week in order to take out new books and return the old ones. Her own small bedroom now became her reading room, and there she would sit and read most afternoons, often with a mug of hot chocolate beside her. She was not quite tall enough to reach things around the kitchen, but she kept a small box in the outhouse which she brought in and stood on in order to get whatever she wanted. Mostly it was hot chocolate she made, warming the milk in a saucepan on the stove before mixing it. Occasionally she made Bovril or Ovaltine. It was pleasant to take a hot drink up to her room and have it beside her as she sat in her silent room reading in the empty house in the afternoons. The books transported her into new worlds and introduced her to amazing people who lived exciting lives. She went on olden days sailing ships with Joseph Conrad. She went to Africa with Ernest Hemingway and to India with Rudyard Kipling. She traveled all over the world while sitting in her little room in an English village. Which leads me on to my second point, which is the topic on youthful friendships. Matilda, as we all know, grew up in a family who didn't really respect her opinions, who didn't even value her love for learning. When she went into Cruncham School, she was able to meet friends. She was able to mingle with other people, especially Lavender and even Miss Honey. She was able to preserve those relationships. Actually, guys, Matilda isn't only a book, it is also a movie and a musical. So, if you're available to watch, go check them out because they are absolutely amazing. Third, it is the resilience despite neglect. Now, I will be tackling two kinds of characters, well, technically three kinds of characters, two of which are her parents, and lastly, the Trunchbull. Let's start off first with the parents. The parents of Matilda actually viewed Matilda as nothing but just a scab waiting to be removed from their lives. Imagine how awful that is or how terrible it is for a parent to view their child like that. Additionally, even in the movie, there was this scene where the father even told Matilda, "I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm tall, you're small." Imagine how these kids of this generation would react to their parents actually treating them like that. It's kind of like a superiority complex from the parents towards their children. And as I have mentioned earlier, they did not value or give any care for Matilda's well-being. While Matilda loved reading books, her parents encouraged all of them, from her brother to the mother, particularly the father, encouraged the entire family to watch television instead of reading books because he believes that TV is better than books. According to the Wormwoods, books are just trash. But I am really glad that Roald Dahl was able to craft up this character, Matilda, who views books as a way or a doorway to new worlds. And last but not least, we have the Trunchbull. Now, the Trunchbull is just the biggest bully and the biggest antagonist of the story. While you may see that the parents of Matilda are more or less the antagonists by their horrible and terrible ways of raising their own daughter, well, think again because Miss Trunchbull is just a whole other level. Do you know that in Matilda, not only does she verbally abuse the kids, she also goes to the point of physical harm. For example, in the story, there was one time where Miss Trunchbull encouraged a young lad to eat a whole cake as a punishment because this little man ate just a piece of her cake. Additionally, there was one time that simply because she did not like pigtails and a child wore one, she grabbed by her pigtails, pivoted, and made her fly onto the grass. That is basically physical harm. And that is why Miss Trunchbull is concluded to be the biggest bully and the biggest antagonist of the story. Now, if you have watched the musical or have listened to any of the songs in the musical, you come across this song called The Revolting Children. I really love that song. It goes like, we are revolting children living in revolting times. We sing revolting songs, we sing revolting rhymes. Basically, at the end of the story, it goes to show how the kids get to stand up for themselves because they believe that standing up for yourselves is better than simply keeping silent. And hence, the revolting children. Because of Dahl's masterpiece and because of the wonders and the magic that this book brings to the whole entire world, it actually won a list of awards, and definitely in this generation, we say slay and deserve. To wrap up this whole entire presentation, I would like to share with you guys the blurb that I have crafted for this wonderful masterpiece of Dahl. It goes like this. Dahl skillfully crafted Matilda as a character that young girls and adults should look up to despite her young age. Elegance, grace, and brains. This story will truly live in the hearts of all, both young and once young. I hope you guys enjoyed this little tidbit of a tale of Roald Dahl's Matilda, and to more books and reading in the future. Bye everyone!